Real Virginia is produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Farming, it's all good. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all of the wonderful products we enjoy. Farmers across the nation are urging the Environmental Protection Agency to ditch the rule, the EPA's proposed changes to the Clean Water Act. It's time for some sweet, delicious melons. Chris Mullins tells us how to grow them in our own garden. And we travel to a wholesale produce auction to learn how fresh food often makes it to your table. Welcome back, everyone. We're here on a farm in Caroline County, and as you see, this cornfield behind me, like most cornfields across the state, can get puddles in it after a thunderstorm. But as Norm Hyde reports, a proposed EPA rule has farmers pretty upset because the federal government would have more control over their land.
It's another hot summer in the Old Dominion, and adding even more heat to the countryside are proposed new Clean Water Act regulations, a move by the EPA that's stirring up a storm of controversy.
We have people already in place that are doing a good job. We have farmers that grew up on the land, that know what they're doing. They don't need anybody else telling them what to do. I know what's best for my land. Why do I need some bureaucrat in Washington telling me how I should do what I should do?
Linwood Broadus farms 900 acres of cropland and pasture in Caroline County with his brother and son. Much of his cropland's near the head of the Mattaponi River, one of the cleanest rivers in Virginia.
As you can see, this is our cornfield, and this is a drainage ditch. It runs right through the middle of it. We farm right up to it. If the EPA gets what they want, they could possibly regulate what crop we put on this land. They could regulate what chemicals we put on it. They could regulate what fertilizer. And we don't need to be going to them to get a permit every time we need to spray the corn.
Don Parrish with the American Farm Bureau says this political battle centers over the legal definition of the term navigable waters of the U.S. Congress and the Supreme Court have agreed in the past to limit what waters are covered by the Clean Water Act. Parrish says these proposed new regulations would go much further.
Many from EPA would say that they're not expanding jurisdiction. But you know, for the first time ever, they're saying they're going to regulate things that only have water in them during rainfall events. They're going to regulate ditches as tributaries. Those aren't aquatic resources, they're land. I don't see how anybody can look at the definitions of this in this proposal and not understand that EPA is not expanding their regulatory footprint.
The proposed update of the Clean Water Act regulations is open for public comment this summer. The Farm Bureau has launched a national campaign to warn farmers and landowners of the broad implications of the rewrite. It's called Ditch the Rule, and Parrish says farmers are not the only citizens who should be very concerned.
Well, you know what? This rule is also very, very broad. It's not only going to impact farmers and ranchers, it's going to impact anybody that tries to build a road, a home, or a new business and bring jobs into the area.
Farmers can learn more about the proposed Clean Water Act rules at ditchtherule.fb.org. Parrish says it all comes down to how much power the EPA will have over farmers and whether it's necessary for that agency to regulate land uses upstream from navigable waters. Broadus says he already works closely with conservation officials at the state and federal level.
We're heavily regulated now. I mean, we've got the USDA, the Soil and Water Conservation. We don't need people who know nothing about the farm. That's one thing about at least with the Soil and Water Conservation, you're dealing with people who in many cases grew up on the farm and their job is working with farmers. What this could involve is we would have people who know nothing about agriculture writing the regulations and requirements for my farm.
The way our Clean Water Act works, it's a partnership where there's some waters regulated at the federal level, some waters regulated by the state. And clearly that partnership is being undermined because EPA is overburdening and overlaying what was traditionally reserved for states.
Reaction to the proposed regulations has been so strong the EPA has had to extend the comment period this summer. But Parrish says farmers and all concerned landowners need to speak out now before these unnecessary changes become the new law of the land. In Caroline County, Virginia, I'm Norm Hyde.
Row crops are king in Caroline County. Corn, wheat, sorghum, and soybeans are the top crops in this community between the state capital of Richmond and the ever-expanding Northern Virginia region. Almost 736 million bushels of corn were raised here in 2012, but there's also beef and dairy cattle operations, along with hogs, sheep, and poultry farms. 5.6 million tons of hay are raised here, and there's 11 vegetable crops and 7 orchards, which help contribute to the local foods movement. Altogether, agriculture contributes $3.9 million to the economy of Caroline County, Virginia.
Hi, I'm Chris Mullins, and today we're going to be talking about all kinds of melons from the ground up. Please stay tuned.
We're on Okmulgee Dairy Farm in Amelia County, Virginia.
My great-grandfather moved here in 1898. I started milking cows, I think, in 1902, and been milking cows ever since.
The farm involves my father-in-law, mother-in-law, my husband, his brother, and our 2 boys.
You get to see and get the knowledge of the generation ahead of you, and you get all the education and new ideas from the younger sons behind me.
And I feel a real connection with the land I work every day, and being able to work with my dad and brothers and uncle and grandfather.
You know, we plant stuff, you like to see it grow, build up a good herd of cattle, and think you accomplished something.
You can see the profits of your labor on a daily basis.
And we really take pride in what we do, producing a wholesome product for the consumer.
I am Larkin Moyer, a 4th-generation dairy farmer from Virginia, and I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, and my land.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
This hot summertime weather means one thing: sweet watermelons and cantaloupes, perhaps from the farmer's market or your own garden. Chris Mullins has some suggestions on growing these delicious summertime fruits from the ground up.
Well, hi, today we're at Virginia State University's Randolph Farm, and we're in a melon patch. This time of the year it's pretty warm, and I always think back to childhood when we would crack open nice cold watermelons and cantaloupes, and it brings back good memories of growing up. And I'm sure it's the same with a lot of you all. And you can buy watermelons and cantaloupes, really good ones, at your grocery store, at the farmer's market, or a roadside stand. But you can also grow your own. So let's look at how we can do that in your garden. Well, it's a little bit late right now to think about putting melons in this year. Mostly in May is when you would plant melons in Virginia. But if you're like me, you like to plan ahead for next year. And one of the first things you need to do when you're thinking about next year is looking at varieties, looking at your seed catalogs. You're going to find varieties of watermelons and cantaloupes that are going to do fine no matter where you are in the state. Some of them are going to mature a little bit shorter or longer, and you need to think about that. But there's lots of good varieties out there. The next thing you need to think about is spacing, because these plants really take up a lot of space. Watermelons probably take up a little more than cantaloupes, and when you're planting those, whether either you're putting a seed in the ground or you're putting transplants in the ground, you need to probably put about 4 feet between the plants within the row. And you need to plant, if you're planting other rows beside it, you need to give probably about 4 or 5 feet on each side of your watermelon row. With cantaloupes, you can grow them a little tighter, maybe 3 feet on each side of the row, and maybe a couple feet within the row itself. Now, if you've got a tight space, you might want to try growing these and trellising them up in some way. And as long as you support the fruit as it's starting to grow, with something like pantyhose, for example, it'll keep that from falling down, and you can trellis these up and they're going to grow just fine for you. Now, another thing you need to think about are weeds. Throughout your garden you're battling weeds, but especially with these because you're leaving a lot of space between the rows. As you'll see here, we've got some ground cover between the rows, and that's really doing a lot of things. But first of all, it's keeping the weeds out. And these melons, as they lay on the ground, they're not going to get dirty like they normally would. So it really helps us a lot there. This is a problem right here. This is a striped cucumber beetle, and they can damage your plants as well as transmit bacterial wilt, which is a problem with all the cucurbits. And another problem is animal pests. Animals like raccoons and deer can get in here and smash the watermelons and eat the flesh out of them. So you've got to think about that. Even commercial growers have to deal with this problem, and they put up electric fence or very tall, strong fence, and that can certainly keep those animals out. So you need to think about that and try to keep those animals out of your garden when you're growing watermelons and cantaloupes. So you are growing those, and how do you tell when they are ripe? Well, you can thump on your melon all you want, but that's probably not the best method for finding out if it's ripe or not. The best thing to do is look at your plant, look at the curlicue or tendril that's closest to your melon. If it's dried up and brown, then that means your melon is ready to go and should be nice and sweet. Well, there's lots of production information about cantaloupes and watermelons that we didn't go over today, but if you talk to your local county extension office, your master gardener there, they can help you with some of that information. Well, for From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins, and we'll see you next time.
Up next on Real Virginia, Carissa Jackson takes us into the heart of the home for a dish the whole family will love. Stay with us.
The State Fair is bringing you the best of Virginia. My job is picking it up. Know any driving tunes?
They've been in the bathroom, right?
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
No fight songs. This could be a challenge.
Learn more at statefairva.org.
Roll down the window.
Preventing wildfires. That's all Smokey wants for his 70th birthday.
Our vacation in a Virginia state park was a wonderful idea. The lodge is beautiful and it has so much room. The park staff are super helpful, and the kids are having such a great time. We're learning all about Virginia's history, and Mark and I even have time for just the two of us. This has been a wonderful experience, and we've never felt so close as a family. We'd love for you to join us. Love, Virginia.
Sunday dinners are the perfect time to share with family and friends. Miss America 2010, Carissa Jackson, joins us to share her recipe for creamy potatoes au gratin, a great side dish for Sunday dinners in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Carissa Jackson, and welcome to Heart of the Home. Today, I'll be cooking from the kitchen at Meadow Hall at the Meadow Event Park. Today, we're going to be making creamy potatoes au gratin. First thing we're going to start off with is 4 large potatoes. You can use any potatoes for this recipe. You can use red potatoes that are found on the Eastern Shore. You can use regular white potatoes. Any potato works just fine. What we're going to do is go ahead and start cutting this in 1/4-inch pieces. You can choose to peel your potato if you want to, but I tend to like mine with a little bit of the skin left on. We will then add these to our bowl. I've already pre-cut some potatoes, and we're going to start our layering process in our casserole dish. So we're going to lay them out as flat as you possibly can get them. And then we're going to add some onions. This recipe you can season to taste, so you can add garlic if you like. Definitely going to add some salt and pepper. And then we'll add a little bit of the fresh onions that I have chopped up on top. And you're going to continue to layer it just like this until you have used all of the potatoes in your bowl. It's important to cut them thin because they cook more evenly that way. All right, now we're going to add some fresh salt and pepper. And then we will sit this to the side just for a moment and get ready to make our cream sauce. So dairy is a big commodity in the state of Virginia. So today we're going to be using some cheddar cheese, we'll be using some milk, and we'll also be using some butter. So we want to turn our eye on low. And we're going to add 4 tablespoons of butter. and let it melt. Once our butter has melted, we will then add 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I'm going to mix that in our butter. And once it's all covered, we're going to add 2 cups of cold milk. And we want to make sure that any flour clumps that may have been created as a result of you adding it to the butter are all evened out before we add any cheese. Using a whisk also works well to get some of the flour clumps out. All right, you will see that your milk, flour, and butter mixture has started to thicken. And then we will add 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. Mix that around, and we're gonna let this melt for about 30 to 45 seconds, not too long because it'll melt really quickly, and it's gonna continue to cook once we put it in the oven. All right, we'll cut our eye off. And then we will pour the cheese mixture on top of our potatoes. You can mix it if you want to, but it all settles. And one thing you don't want to forget to do with all this cheesy goodness is to grease your pan, or you'll have a big mess in the end. We have preheated our oven to 400 degrees. We're going to cover this with aluminum foil and bake it for an hour. And then about an hour in, we're going to add a top layer of shredded cheese and bake it for an additional 30 minutes. All this other craziness. All right, now it's time to take out our potatoes. Here. All right. We will use a knife to cut out a big hunk. And there you have it, cheesy potatoes au gratin. I am Caressa Jackson for Heart of the Home. Come and get it.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org.
The Eastern Shore is where you will find the majority of Virginia's potato growers. Half of the potatoes grown on the shore are used to make potato chips. The other half are sold for fresh potato market. The shore's close proximity to large populations on the East Coast is one reason Virginia Fresh Market potatoes sell so well. Quality is another. In most cases, Virginia potatoes can be harvested, shipped, and displayed in an East Coast grocery store in just one day. Stores from Maine to Florida buy more than $23 million worth of Virginia potatoes each year, and Canadian buyers also seek them out. Virginia producers grow white, red, Yukon Gold, and even purple potatoes.
It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Barry, time is running out. According to my calculations, 1 in 5 kids in America struggles with hunger. How can so many children face hunger when there's more than enough food to feed them all? You're right, Barry. We can help solve hunger by teaming up with Feeding America to get food to hungry kids in communities across the country.
Help Flint and the Feeding America network of food banks get food to the people who need it in your community. Find your local Feeding America food bank at feedingamerica.org/hunger.
Together, we're Feeding America.
America has one of the best food distribution networks in the world, and as Dave Miller reports, many times this starts in humble beginnings, like wholesale produce auctions, where food is divided into lots and sold to stores, restaurants, and more.
This produce auction has homegrown written all over it.
Okay, $8. I get 8 now, 9, get a 9, get a 9, 9, get a 9. I get 8, get a 9, I get 9.
Now in its third year, the Southside Produce Auction is a direct result of the booming local foods movement in Virginia. Small farmers, community-supported farm operations, and farmers market vendors all shop here.
I can sell my produce here when I have overage that I don't need in my market in Lynchburg and at home. I can pick up produce that I don't have readily available, so I can make a lot of money doing that. Yeah, because I can pick it up here cheaper than I can grow some of the stuff.
It was kind of a perfect storm that came together. We had families expanding. They really wanted to expand their production on the farm. Most of our customers are single families that come in and actually buy on a large scale. We've got some that buy for restaurants in different areas, Lynchburg, Charlottesville. We've got farm stands around all through Southside Virginia, and some CSA folks and farmers market folks. It's kind of a nice blend.
Well, we like to come here and grab a breakfast sandwich and a cup of coffee. That's a highlight. And it's just fun seeing what other people have raised and swapping stories with other people and complaining about the weather with other people. And just a nice sense of camaraderie.
50, I got 50,
This is true wholesale auction and is one of the riskiest ways to sell produce. If something is assigned to the floor and it receives a bid, it's sold for whatever that price is. There's no floor. But the auction allows producers to expand their operations and sell more than whatever they normally move at their farmer's market or farm stand. If they have good quality excess, they can come in and move it in a larger bulk.
So it's been a great thing as far as the county. You know, we've been averaging about 100 people every sale, and that's a lot for Charlotte County. So it's bringing folks into the county. We've had some offshoot businesses start up because of the wholesale auction.
Well, I've been to other bigger auctions up in the Shenandoah Valley, and they may have more stuff, but they're more high pressure and cater to the larger buyers. You have to buy more of the same thing. Here you can buy small lots, the auctioneers and everybody runs the place. Very friendly, very friendly.
Even if you don't have the time or need to visit a wholesale auction, the producers still would like to see consumers support local food growers any way they can.
Local food is worth your time, it's worth your effort, and that when people buy local food, their support really, really matters to their friends and their neighbors and people they might not ever meet, but it really makes a difference in the community.
From Charlotte County, this is Dave Miller reporting.
That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We are so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer. Whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape, we're proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.